Hey everyone, it is Luke Fry, CPA and co-founder of TimberTax, and I'm here today to talk to you about 1099s. Well, give us a couple minutes to make sure that everything is working properly. I typically haven't had too many. There's Debbie. Awesome, cool. So that's good. Debbie, if you can hear me all right, do you mind just posting a comment saying so? Okay, I'm going to assume that Debbie can hear me because she gave me the thumbs up. I know there's a little bit of a delay. Wonderful. Cool. All right, let me see if there was anyone else who said they were going to come and see if I need to post anything there for them. I will go here. I think if I post it here. Okay, I'll keep a watch on that. Hey, Wendy, thank you. Wendy, if you're in, do you think you could post the link also to in the event? Because I know that I went live on the page, not the event. That would be super helpful. Haven't totally mastered that. So awesome. I'll go ahead and dive into this fun topic of 1099s. It's actually one of my least favorite things to deal with because it is so tedious and monotonous and mandatory, and I hate those things. But as long as we are going to remain in the good graces of the IRS and filing and not giving us an unnecessary reason to draw attention to ourselves, then we need to make sure that we're taking care of it. And it's really not as complicated as it can often seem. The basics are the deadline is January 31st to send everything out. So that's coming up quite quickly. Is that a little over a week away? And actually a week and a day. There you go. So it's important to make sure that you have a good process in place moving forward to make it as streamlined as possible. The process should always be that any contractor you're working with, you get a W-9 as well as the contract. So that way you have their EIN, which might be their social security number, and their address. So as long as you have all that information and then you make payments to them throughout the year, you have everything to send the actual 1099. The 1099 would typically go to them and then the IRS, as well as potentially the state agency for like if you live in California and they do, then you would send it to California as well. If you haven't done them manually, you may not realize that. You can't just print out a single form and then send it to them. That's not considered sending a 1099. What I always recommend, and so I'll just start pasting in some links here. Track1099.com is a really wonderful website that's very inexpensive, quite automated, and allows you to take care of almost everything quite easily. I'm surprised that the image that popped up there is for Social Security Administration, but essentially you need to be sending anyone who's not a corporation or not a lawyer a 1099 if you paid them over $600 throughout the year through something like cash or checks, and sometimes even personal Venmo, personal PayPal, anything that's not like a merchant account, and anything that's not like inventory type stuff. I'll pull up the instructions that I highlighted last night on the IRS to also talk a little bit more, because there are some nuanced situations, but generally anyone who you might kind of think of as an employee, but you're not actually paying them as an employee, that's who you should be sending 1099s to. And the 1099 that we're specifically talking about right now are 1099-MISC, M-I-S-C. And the type of payment that you're reporting is non-employee compensation, sometimes abbreviated to the NEC, non-employment compensation, if you see that on the 1099 miscellaneous form. So the threshold of $600 can be for, I'm reading from the specific instructions, for rents, prizes and awards, other income payments, cash paid from a notional principal contract, any fishing boat proceeds, medical and healthcare payments, crop insurance, payments to attorneys, Section 409A deferrals, non-qualified deferred compensation. Okay, so a lot of different stuff. And then trade or business reporting. Anything that you made, report on Form 1099 MISC only when payments are made in the course of your trade or business. Personal payments are not reportable. You are engaged in a trade or business if you operate for a gain or profit, meaning you might not even have a profit, but you still need to be sending them. So some payments do not have to be reported on the 1099, although they might be taxable. So generally, as I mentioned, payments to a corporation or an S corporation, you don't need to send them a 1099, which is why if many of you have asked for Timber's W-9, and we'll happily give it to you, but we are a C corporation that is taxed as an S corporation, and so we don't need to be filing. You don't need to send us a 1099. Okay, I'm gonna stop for a second and give, I guess, Debbie a chance to ask any questions that she may have. I was expecting a few more people on this one, actually, so I'm kind of surprised, but I know that I just let everyone know yesterday. Okay, well, I'm going to go ahead then and just post some additional links on how to think about 1099s that I found helpful. And some of them are going to be more general, but especially that first one from entrepreneur.com is a pretty straightforward walkthrough of 1099s. And if you have the totals and the W-9s, it really shouldn't take very long if you use Track 1099. So there's some resources I posted on there. Track 1099 is going to be your best friend. The key is that when we file your return, we have to ask you, were you required to file them? And then on the tax return, say yes or no. And then the follow-up, if you did, is did you send them? And if you don't send them, there are penalties. And then if you mark those boxes that say you weren't compliant, it's possible that you're going to receive automated penalty notices. So just not worth that. It's a tedious, annoying little thing to do, but it will keep everything running smoothly on that end if you just take care of it now. Awesome. Debbie, what about individuals that you paid out of country? For example, we use a graphic designer outside the US. They do not file US taxes. That's actually a really good question. You need to send them, I should post the W-9 form too. You need to send them a W-8 Ben gov W-9. And essentially they need to declare that they are not a US taxpayer. Let me also pull up the instructions for the 1099. So I'm posting the link for the W-9. That's what everyone should be sending. And then Debbie brought up this payment to foreign people. And I want to look at the exact instruction verbiage so I don't steer you wrong. Okay, that's not showing up there. I think that answer may be in one of, oh, it is actually one of these slides. So according to entrepreneur.com, it says if you hire non-US citizens who perform work inside the US, you'll need to file a 1099. But if it's outside of the US, I don't believe that you need to. I'll confirm that to make sure that I'm giving you the right advice, but my understanding is if they're outside of the US, you don't need to send them a 1099. That's typically what I've operated under, and I'll confirm that with you, Debbie, but I wouldn't worry about it. Any other questions? Even Wendy, if there's anything that you can think of that might be relevant. Okay, that seems pretty straightforward. I'm sure there are more questions, but I'll also be sending out an email with some of this information later to everyone and a link to this video. So thanks so much, Debbie, and feel free to comment anyone else who's watching this video afterwards, and I'll engage with any of the comments as well. Alrighty, take care.